So the for loop is like the while loop in that it's a pre-test loop. So the for loop is going to test your condition before it runs anything in the loop. For loops are, we'll see in a minute when we look at some code, that for loops are good for count controlled loops. So in other words, if we know how many times we need to run the loop, a for loop is a good option, because the for loop will run the loop for a known number of iterations. Syntax for the for loop is, first of all, we have for, and then we're going to have we're going to have a variable initialization here. So we're going to have basically our counter that we initialize here. I'm going to show you some actual code. Well, let's just put in some actual code. So we might have count, and I'm going to declare count as an integer. So we might have count is equal to 1, and so this is called the initialization. And so basically it's just setting our counter equal to some value. And you can set that to whatever you want. Then you're going to have some conditional or test statements. So let's say count less than or equal to 5. So this is going to be our test. And then we're going to have an update. So what I mean by that is we might have count plus plus here. So this is our update. If we only have one line of code, we don't need curly braces. We can just put the one line right after, like right after the for, without the curly braces. So let's just say we're printing out hello, and then end line. If you want more than one line, you need curly braces around your block of code. So what this is going to do is this is going to, well, first of all, we're going to come into the loop, and we have this counter variable that's set equal to 1, and it's going to check our condition. So is 1 less than or equal to 5? Yes. So it's going to run whatever we have in our block of code. So it's going to print out hello, and then it's going to increment the counter. So now counter is equal to 2. So let's put that here. It's going to go to the test. 2 is still less than or equal to 5. So it's going to run this block of code again. So it's going to print another hello. And then it's going to increment the counter again. So now the counter's at 3. So it's going to run this code again. Well, first it's going to increase the counter to 3, and then it's going to test the condition. So 3 is less than or equal to 5, so it'll print out hello again. Then it's going to increment the counter again, so now it's 4. So it's going to print out hello, because that's still less than 5. Increase it again. 5 is less than or equal to 5, so it's going to print out hello again. And then it's going to increase it to 6, and this condition will become false at that point, so then it will exit the loop. So this is going to print out hello 5 times. So what I want you to do is write a loop that, so write a for loop. So write a for loop that displays, I love to program 50 times. So this is kind of like having to write on the board, only we're doing it the fast way. Let's give you guys a couple minutes to write that loop. And I recommend writing something down, just it helps.
I have, well, first int number, and then for parentheses, I have number equals 1, semicolon, number is less than or greater than equal to 50, and then number plus plus, and then cout. Programming is fun.
Oh, let's do the I love to program. Let's see. All right, let's run this. All right, so it looks like it works. That looks like about 50 to me. So I want to point out a couple of things. So one thing you want to be careful of is, so for the while and do while loop, we increment our counter inside the loop. But with the for loop, we're incrementing it in the statement. But one common error is to do this. So put an increment your counter inside the loop as well. This is incrementing our counter twice every time the loop runs, so it's only going to run it half of the times that we're expecting. So looks like about 25. But if you want to increment it inside the loop, you can leave this out and write it like this. And so you still need this semicolon here. You're just going to leave this empty. So let's run this. So yeah, it looks like about 50. So I'm going to put this back how it was. So another thing we can do is we can initialize, well, let's say, like, I'm going to comment out this int number. So we haven't declared this variable yet. We can declare this inside the for loop like that. So we can have int number. And a lot of times you'll see this as like int I. And I isn't probably the greatest name for a variable, but you'll see this a lot where people just have int I, and then all of these numbers would be I. So they'll have their for loop with just int I. Change this back to number. And let's see, a few other forms. So we could also do this. Let's say we do want to increment the counter more than once. We can do something like number plus equal 2. So we can increment the counter however we want. We can also decrement the counter, so we can do number minus minus, and if we did that, we want to start this at 50 and then do number would be greater than or equal to 0. Well, I want to show you a few for loop modifications as well. I'm just going to start a new for loop for this. So let's declare two variables, so int x and int y. We can do something like for x equal 1 and y equal 1. So basically I've put two variables in my for loop for the initialization. So I've initialized both x and y to 1 inside this for loop statement. And then I can do like x less than or equal to 5 and then increment x. And then we could just do something with these, like let's just print out what they are. So C out x, let's see, and y. And I'm going to just delete this. So let's say we have int, I'm going to go back up here, int sum is equal to 0, and then, and I'll just put these on the same line, num equals 1. And then let's do, well actually this is just terminology with any loop. So let's do a while loop. Well, let's do a for loop. So let's say for num equals 1, num less than or equal to 10, num plus plus. And then let's do, so remember this, the example problem we did last time where we were summing integers up to a certain number, so like 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5. So we can do, like, let's say we want to sum. So I have the sum set equal to 0. I have my counter set to 1, and I don't need, let's do this. So int num, and then I have num equal 1 in my for loop, num less than or equal to 10, num plus plus. Let's say we want to sum all of these numbers up to 10. We would do sum plus equal num. And so we've already seen this code. This is basically what we did last time, only we went backwards. So the terminology for this is called an accumulator. So an accumulator is basically a variable that holds a running total